Most people think they know fear. They think fear is the sound of footsteps behind them, or a dark parking lot, or a stranger staring too long. But in Phoenix, Arizona, fear became something much deeper, something that crawled under people's skin and stayed there, something that took control of an entire city. Because for nearly 2 years, someone was hunting. Someone invisible. Someone fast. Someone who left nothing behind but silence. This is the story of the man police would one day call the baseline phantom. Not his real name, of course. His real name was Derek Malone. A name no one in Phoenix will ever forget. It began on an ordinary summer night, the kind where the heat hangs in the air even after the sun disappears. People were out walking dogs, chatting with neighbors, watering lawns. The kind of peaceful evening that convinces you nothing bad could possibly happen. A young woman was walking home from her shift. She was tired but relaxed, steps steady, headphones in, humming to her music. She passed the same mailbox she passed every night, the same cracked sidewalk, the same dim street lamp that buzzed faintly. Nothing felt unusual until a cold shiver ran up her spine. She paused her music, listened. Nothing, just the desert wind. She kept walking. And then, in a single breath, she was gone. There was no scream, no witnesses, no signs of a struggle. She simply vanished into the darkness. When she didn't come home, her family panicked. When police searched the area, they found nothing, no clues, no footprints, no trace she ever walked that street at all. At first, detectives hoped it was an isolated case. Maybe she left voluntarily. Maybe it was someone she knew. But days later, another woman disappeared. Then another. And another. Different ages, different backgrounds, different parts of the same long corridor in Phoenix. And soon, bodies began to appear. Early in the morning, joggers found a woman near a park, lifeless, killed with a single gunshot to the head. A week later, a convenience store clerk was taken outside her workplace. Then a mother of 2 was attacked just yards from her front door. Panic spread like wildfire. People stopped walking alone. Women formed buddy groups for grocery runs. Gun sales surged. Entire neighborhoods shut down after sunset. Parents refused to let teenage daughters wait at bus stops alone. Even men began watching their backs because whoever this killer was, he moved with a speed and precision that felt almost unreal, like he could appear and vanish at will. The media labeled him the baseline phantom, a name born from the long stretch of Baseline Road where most attacks happened. But police had no name, no face, nothing but a series of violent crimes with the same method, the same efficiency, the same cold execution. For months, investigators worked around the clock. They brought in federal agents, profilers, behavioral experts. But this phantom was too careful, too controlled. Until one day, a grainy security camera behind a rundown corner store picked up a figure moving through an alley. The video quality was awful. Blurred edges, distorted light, no visible face, but detectives noticed something important. The man walked with a slight downward tilt in his left shoulder. Subtle, but distinctive. It wasn't enough to identify him, but it was the first real thread. Then came the moment that changed everything. A woman survived. Barely, but she survived. Shaking, bruised, her voice trembling, she described her attacker. A tall, dark-skinned man, strong build, around his 40s, deep, hard voice, wearing gloves, and yes, the left shoulder slightly lower. Detectives froze. They knew someone like that. Someone who had a violent past. Someone recently released on parole. Someone who lived frighteningly close to several attack sites. Derek Malone. On paper, he looked like any other blue-collar worker, a construction helper, a quiet neighbor, someone who waved at people in the mornings. But his record? It told a different story. Secret surveillance began immediately. Officers monitored him at night, tracked his routes, watched who he talked to. And little by little, the puzzle pieces fit together. His work hours matched multiple crime timelines. His old addresses aligned with earlier attacks. And when police covertly collected DNA from a discarded bottle, the results were undeniable. The baseline phantom finally had a name. But detectives kept silent. They wanted one more confirmation, one more slip, one more mistake. They didn't get it. Instead, they got something else. Another victim. A young teacher attacked steps from her apartment. Only this time, people heard her screams. And they saw him. Officers raced to Derek Malone's home the next day. He stepped outside with a calmness that chilled every cop on scene. Hands by his sides, steady gaze. No panic, no confusion. He looked directly at the officers and smiled. A smile so cold, so empty, that detectives later said it was the moment they knew this man wasn't afraid of anything. The arrest was quick, quiet, almost too easy. But the trial shook Phoenix to its core. Victims' families packed the courtroom. Survivors testified through tears. Detectives recounted months of sleepless investigation. Crime lab experts presented DNA matches, ballistic links, and timelines that aligned with terrifying precision. Malone denied everything, every count, every accusation. He insisted he was framed. He insisted he was innocent. But evidence after evidence crushed his claims. When the final verdict came, the courtroom fell silent. Guilty. On all counts. Multiple murders, multiple sexual assaults, kidnappings, armed robberies. Years of terror finally laid bare. The judge sentenced him to death, calling Malone one of the most dangerous predators Arizona has ever seen. But even now, long after he was removed from the streets, Phoenix hasn't forgotten. Some people still double-check their locks at night. Some still won't walk down Baseline Road alone. And the survivors? They carry the weight forever. The memory of a man who walked like a shadow, struck like lightning, and vanished like smoke. The Baseline phantom may be gone, but the fear he created, that never fully left. Because the terrifying truth is this: Monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they mow their lawns, wave at neighbors, and smile as they walk past. Sometimes they don't look like monsters at all.